Thanks for tuning in to the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch.
And I'm Maul.
And welcome to the college football episode, getting underway after week 2 of college football, getting into the next week. Week 3, yeah. Week 3 going into week 4. Some bigger games that happened. You had Georgia really narrowly beating Tennessee thanks to kickers. That's why I love the Pat McAfee, like kicking, because it's like those guys have a lot of pressure kicking for like $250,000. But
it matters.
I'll tell you what, Pops was texting us during the game, and he was like, man, this kid looks nervous. And
yeah,
he was right. But before we get underway, I got 2 things of trivia. We'll see if Maul can get them. The first one's a little bit tougher. The second one is guess the players. So first question, who is the most recent national champions who were unranked in the AP preseason poll? And I will give you a hint. This is pre-BCS.
So unranked in the preseason AP poll, but then ended up as the national champion.
Yep.
I want to say, is it like a pretty blue blood type school?
Both schools are Power 4 teams now. One used to not be and is. And then the other...
There's 2 of them?
There's 2 different schools. Yeah, I'd said who's the most recent 2.
Oh,
I
the
can
most
give you
recent 2. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
One was 1990. The other was 1984. I only say that because I don't have those dates memorized, but it may tune you in a little bit more. One,
Michigan?
Nope, not Michigan. Both schools they're not blue bloods in terms of if you're thinking like of a Michigan or something. It's their only national championships for those. One had a big win this past weekend that we'll talk about.
Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech is 1990.
So then 84?
84.
I don't even know if they have one. Colorado?
We played them in college.
Well, that's a pretty good guess with Colorado.
It is. We didn't play them in college. They didn't start that rivalry. But
TCU?
No. I hated playing these guys because of their fans were always, I thought, the meanest, which was comical based upon where they went to school. I've never heard fans.
BYU?
Yes. I've never been called more things that I was like, well, could never air that on the air ever by BYU fans than playing against BYU.
Church?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Jesus wouldn't like that. So those are the 2 schools, BYU in 1994. All right, now here is going into this week, like one of the teams that I think we had mentioned in the preseason. I know Pops has got them upsetting Utah, is Texas Tech. They've been playing. I think a lot of it, like what we're going to talk about this episode, is teams that yet again, it's like they're doing really well, but they're not getting any respect by the AP poll. But meanwhile, Notre Dame is 0-2 and they're still ranked, which I know we're going to get on a tangent about that. So this is Texas Tech. So the very first question is, can you name the only Hall of Fame player to ever come out of Texas Tech? And it is not offense. I say that because I know you're not a defensive guy.
Well, it's going to be number 2 is Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, 100%.
So defensive Texas Tech. I got no idea.
Zach Thomas, linebacker from Miami was
Dolphins.
The first one.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Guess the player. Texas Tech College, was drafted by the Niners, played for the Raiders, the Ravens, and the Cardinals?
Michael Crabtree.
You are correct. The next one, Texas Tech, undrafted.
Julian
Chargers.
Edelman.
No. Chargers. Edelman didn't play for Texas Tech. Chargers, Dolphins, Patriots, Broncos, Rams.
My bad. I said Julian Edelman. I meant the other small little white guy receiver, Wes Welker.
Yes, Wes
Yeah.
Welker.
That's my bad.
No, you're good. Always Crabtree was. I remember. I didn't really ever remember watching Wes, but I remember Crabtree was an
Dude,
absolute
Graham
beast.
Harrell, Michael Crabtree under that Mike Leach offense, electric.
I miss Mike Leach. I miss those interviews too.
Yeah. Rip.
That did change. I thought it was, side note, a lot of blowback. When he died, he was 1 win short. Like if he had been alive for the bowl game and they had won, it would have made him eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. And due to him dying, he was 1 win short. Well, they changed the rules in terms of like winning percentage, which I think is dumb to begin with. It's like, well, if you don't have a certain winning percentage, then you can't get in. It's like, really? That of all things in college football, that's what we're going to judge success off of, is winning percentage.
Well, apparently now you can just go back and claim wins, so might as well just do that.
Auburn just claimed 7, which we'll go ahead and get on this tangent. There was a bunch of, we talked about it last week with the girl who ranked, still had Clemson above after having a loss, wouldn't rank
Florida above South Florida after they just beat them.
All this stuff, and it occurred this week too, with how rankings worked out in terms of different voters and how they put people in. Notre Dame is ranked at number 24. They haven't won. And we were talking about this at the house. It's like the AP poll is supposed to be super fluid. Like it's based upon what you see every week. And it's not that. We go in with a bias and then we keep the bias in place regardless of how the team does.
Yeah.
And what you said,
which I'm confused about, is it's because it's not like these people are losing their jobs over it. Like we've shown that these people have no idea what they're talking about, and nobody is getting fired over their predictions, right? So it's like you don't have to like try to save face and be like, oh well, I had them ranked, so I guess I'll just keep them ranked even though I don't know what I'm talking about. Like there's none of this like trying to like backpedal. Like just rank what you're like. Do I think Notre Dame is one of the top 25 teams in the nation? Yeah, probably, from like a skill set and like who they could beat. Yeah, that's probably true. Like I'm not knocking Notre Dame like they're this awful team, but they have 0 wins. Like they haven't won a game yet. You know what I mean? So like you cannot say that based on what you've seen on the field that they're a top 25 team with 0 wins. Like if you truly think they're that good, that's fine. Let them fall out of the top 25. Let them beat USC coming up. Let them beat. They've got another team. I can't pick their schedule right off the top of my head, but like
play Arkansas.
Let them beat those teams and then go, okay, yeah, now that they got a few wins, we can put them back. Like let them work their way back into the top 25. I have no problem with that. But we've almost bastardized the AP poll as like a pre CFP poll, which is, we've complained about the CFP poll before of like, oh, well, we think they're one of the best teams in the nation. Okay, well, what you think doesn't matter, right? Because you've already proven based off of your AP, your preseason poll, what you think is completely wrong, right? So like, it doesn't matter what you think. It matters on what's happened on the field and what games you've played. I'm not saying punish teams that play tougher opponents. I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, if you don't win any games, sorry, like it doesn't matter how good we think you are. You're not performing when it matters. That'd be like studying for a test real hard, completely bombing the test and being like, oh, well, I think I'm real smart, so I still deserve an A. I'm sorry, in the one opportunity you had to prove how smart you were in the test, aka the football game, you failed. Therefore, you don't get any points.
The other thing with this, that 2 things. First, this scenario, Notre Dame loses the first two. Let's say Miami loses their last two games. How are they going to be treated? That one team wins 10 straight and loses two, or the team that loses two at the beginning of the season and wins 10 straight? I can already tell you how it's going to play out.
Well, here's a better example. South Florida, right? Because you'd go, oh, well, Notre Dame played two ranked teams and they've lost. That's why they're still ranked. Okay, South Florida has played three ranked teams. And you know what their record is? 2-1. So, like, why aren't they ranked? You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference
LSU
there?
got a bump for beating Florida, but then we kick USF out after they beat Florida.
And the thing, this just goes way back, and you've said this before, of like prior to the BCS or like the CFP, we just need to like blank the slate, because as crazy as this sounds now, because we have the CFP to like kind of try to figure it all out at the end of the season, we didn't have this for like the first 50, 60 years. We literally used to decide national championships off of this garbage. Like, the idiocracy that is happening right now used to be the people who just decided at the end of the year who the national champion was, which baffles my mind that it took this long for it to finally be like, now we've been calling for this for the last 2 years. I feel like people are finally now just starting to catch up nationally with how ridiculous this AP poll is. But like, we used to decide at the end of the year, we would just go, yeah, we think they're better. They're the national championship. And everybody just had to accept that. So, you know what? I don't blame Auburn for being like, you know what? We're going to take 7 of those national championships, because it's like, what are you going to do? Like, it's out of control.
And to put this into context, I always like to bring this point up, because we think about college football now and how prevalent it is, all the channels, all the games. Unless you're a Pac-12 fan, then you get none of the games unless you live in California, and even then, you're still not going to get the game, because that's why the Pac-12 imploded. The internet did not start until the 90s. The first BCS national championship was in 1997. So everything prior to that, think about it. Like, you think about how much TV has advanced, how much, like the internet, like you couldn't even stream games. Like, how did people hear about it in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s?
They woke up the next morning and looked at the newspaper. They just saw the box score. And that was it.
You think about like AP poll voters back in the day. It's like they didn't watch anything but their team, and they voted. Like, talk about a bias. It was even more skewed than it is today. And pretty much that girl 2 weeks ago, she didn't say it, but she pretty much said it, that I watched my game. I woke up, didn't look at the scores. I just wrote it based upon what I thought. I didn't check anything. That's exactly what happened. And we literally base national championships off of that, which I bring up to say it has such an impact today, because now people look at it and they're like, well, Michigan is a blue blood program. You know, they've been successful for years. They've won Texas won national championships in the 60s. And it's like, were they a good football team? I'm not going to sit back and tell you they weren't. But were they the best football team in the country? You cannot argue that. Like, and Bama claims 18 national championships. Really, until you start with them beating Miami, I get all of Bears teams were fantastic. You really can't use those to like bias your logic in terms of team success, which you shouldn't be doing that anyhow.
You just understand now that it's been flawed from the beginning. Like, everything has this asterisk of flaw, because it's just based on people who had no idea what was actually happening in any of the games.
I have to start working on this again. This is like, I've heard Brandon Walker, I've heard multiple guys come out and say this, and I feel like this is the moment that we really could get to that point. There needs to be some time, and I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but I was working on it, and then I just sort of let it. It was one of those ones where it's like, no one cares about this. And now I feel like the things that we were talking about 2 years ago are like, oh, we were already saying this. There should be a formula, like based upon like, you know, teams' offensive efficiency, you know, how percentage of the red zone, number of passing yards per game, rushing yards per game, total offense. Like, I'm not saying that all those things generate wins. You could also take a look at them versus wins, you know, wins versus Power 4 teams, wins versus other things, like, and take that team's record into account. That, hey, as this season goes on, just like last year at Florida State, yeah, it looked like a good win week 1, but then as the season went on, it was like, man, Florida State sucks, so that win should mean less as the season. Like, all that's just math. There should be an equation, and that would make it to where by the middle of the season, that's when rankings really start to come out, because you start to feel out what teams actually are.
I agree with you. However, there's the one huge variable that is going to flaw the whole system, though, and it's these garbage schedules. USC is putting up the most points per game in the nation with like 66 points or prior to Purdue, which would obviously boost their, standing per the mathematical formula. And it's like, yeah, but they played Georgia Southern and my mind's blanking on who they played week 1.
Purdue.
But it's Missouri State. They played Missouri State, Georgia Southern, and Purdue. Like, they're 3-0, so good on them. But like, if they're not playing equal level talents of teams, the math gets flawed by the outcome, right? Like, if they're putting up 66 points on Notre Dame and Florida and LSU, yeah, obviously that's a huge boost. So like, maybe you can offset it by like strength of schedule or opponent's record or something to the nature. Like, there probably is some formula there, but like, my biggest thing is kind of like what you said. We got to get rid of the preseason poll, because that sets this bias for the rest of the season that is just absolute garbage based off of nothing. If the CFP is so important, let's wait. We got to draw a line in the sand somewhere of like week 6 or week 7. Like, we can't have any rankings until after week 6. And then let's just start from the get-go with CFP. None of this like, oh, we're going to wait until the last 2 weeks of the season kind of garbage. Like, how about middle of the season, week 6, week 7, somewhere around there. Now we start ranking people based on what we've seen, because up until that point, we're still trying to figure out what teams are which. And half of the teams in the top 25 haven't even played, anybody in their conference or another Power 4 team. Like, it's ridiculous.
And this is what you just said of this like preseason bias. Like, I sent you guys the clip from, it's funny because Josh Pate said it, who's like one of the bigger podcasts, but we had said it the week prior when you were like, who's the most overrated team? And in my mind, I said Illinois. And it's like, you look at them, they're 3-0. Great. They're number 9. And it's like, well, who have they played? Absolutely no one. Meanwhile, I'll give props to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt goes on the road and throttles Virginia Tech. And then they go on the road again and they throttle the number 11 team in South Carolina. Like, bad. Absolutely abused them in their own stadium. Vanderbilt's ranked number 20 after not being ranked. Meanwhile, Illinois keeps the same ranking at number 9, and you go, why? Like, what has Illinois
It's
proved?
nothing against Illinois. Like,
Correct.
It's not to say they're a bad football team. It's just like, what are you basing it off of? You've got nothing to go off of.
And meanwhile, Texas is sitting there at number 8, and you're like, everyone and their mom knows the only reason Texas hasn't lost another game is because they didn't play anyone good. Like, everyone is saying right now that Arch Manning may probably be one of the most overhyped players that we've seen in, I'd argue, at least the last 5 years, if not the last decade, coming out from a preseason Heisman favorite. And they're not moving. Like, they're still in the top 10. It blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, there's 100 examples of that. Like Ohio State. Yes, when they beat Texas, it was this big win of like, yeah, we beat the number 1 team in the nation. Well, as the season goes on, you're like, was it really that big of a win? Like, if you're as good as you think you are, and it's very clear that Texas is not good, maybe you should have beat Texas by more than 1 touchdown, right? Like,
the same could be said for LSU. It's like LSU plays Clemson.
Everybody. Think about how far we've swung on the pendulum on Alabama. It was like, they're the number 9 team in the nation. They're going to be pretty good. Then they lose to an unranked Florida State. And you're like, zoop, like, oh my God, Alabama sucks. They just lost to unranked Florida State, who only won 2 games last year. Then all of a sudden, Florida State starts playing pretty well. Alabama starts killing everybody. And it's like, zoop, maybe Bama's actually decent. Like, maybe Florida State is just actually that good. It just, We don't know. We have no idea what these teams are. So until we have schedules where they have to play all these teams back to back to back and actually run the gauntlet, or we redistribute the conferences like I talked about, where you don't play all these cupcake out of conference things. You just play your people in conference, and then we will figure all that out in the playoff at the end. It would get rid of all these ranking biases.
We have to do two things.
It's never going to be solved. It's never going to be solved.
You have to get rid of everyone outside of the Power Four. I'm not saying they don't exist as a football team, but it's one of those like Power Five. Everyone not Power Four, you battle it out. We'll send one of you to the CFP. And if they expand it, we'll send two of you to give you the Cinderella chance. But at the end of the day, we know from a pure standpoint of just who's competed in the last, I'd argue, over 20 years of football, none of you guys do well. None of you do well.
Well, Boise State.
Boise State did well in one game. But in terms of a 12-team playoff, do I think that Boise would win at all? I'm not going to say they couldn't. I'm just saying the odds are heavily stacked against them because the following week after shocking Oklahoma, no one's underestimating what Boise State's coming into that next game. That's all I'm trying to say. But from a standpoint of what the NFL does, I think is great. The Chiefs, they play in the AFC. The games against AFC opponents mean the most. Why? Because they determine the rankings for the playoffs. The NFC games matter too because they factor in, but they are a degree less in terms of weight. And the NFL's got it figured out because they say you're going to play this number of AFC teams, you're going to play this number of NFC teams. And at the end of that, we have math that is always correct. It's always worked out. We never have any question of why this team was the number 7 wild card and why this team barely missed. If they did that in college football and just said, look, you're going to play your conference. We're not going to have a conference champion. That's just like we don't have divisional champs. You're going to be ranked, but you're also going to play a mixture of the other conferences. And from that, we are going to have just an equation that says, based upon this, here's where you're at. If they did that, like you said, from a scheduling standpoint, we'd have good games every week. Because at the end of the day, like I'm sitting here looking, it's like Texas Tech versus Utah, great game. UAB versus Tennessee, it's not a good game. Like, no one cares if the only thing that matters to Tennessee is not losing that game. That's it. At least Oregon versus Oregon State's still a good game. I get that Oregon State is in the broken Pac-12.
No, it's not.
It still is.
It matters to them because of the historical rivalry, but like
or playing Oregon State's different than playing UAB.
Sure, 100%.
That's all I'm trying to say. Florida State's playing Kent State. It's like I would rather watch Florida State play Mississippi State or play Northwestern. Oregon had, I'm not saying that Northwestern at was any point going to win the game, but it was clear that Oregon was having some troubles against Northwestern when it was like 10-0 going in half. But then you have Oklahoma playing Auburn. Great game. Tulane playing Ole Miss. Like, it's just not a good game. Michigan playing Nebraska. I get Nebraska's unranked. Michigan had a loss. That's a great game. Like, those are the type of things I enjoy watching, and it makes it better.
You know why? And like, whether you realize it or not, it's because it allows you to truly figure out who's good and who's not.
Yes.
Like, that's the point. Like, you know what kind of team Nebraska is, whether they're like super good or super bad. Like, you know, there is a level of talent because it's Nebraska and the games that they've played. So regardless of whether they're ranked or not, if Michigan comes out and blows Nebraska out of the water, you know, okay, Nebraska's not a good team. Michigan may be better than we were thinking after they lost to Oklahoma. Like, you come away with some knowledge. If Tennessee beats UAB 70-0, do you have any different opinion on Tennessee then than you do right now? No, you learn nothing from the game. Like, you learn nothing from the game.
You can say the same from Alabama.
The only thing that could change is if they pull a Clemson and are losing to Troy at halftime, right? Like, if Tennessee's losing to UAB at halftime, that allows you to learn something of like, oh, they're struggling a little bit. But again, like, that's a far off chance that it's happening. So like you don't learn anything from the game. It might as well be a bye week. Like that's why like these Michigan Nebraska type games, like when you're playing another Power 4 opponent, it's a level of competition that hey, we're going to learn something for both of these teams kind of regardless of the outcome.
Correct. I mean, I look at it the same way for USC, the same way for Bama. Bama gets beat by Florida State. Everyone, like you said, pulls back. In the last 2 weeks, now they're hyper. I get the win against Wisconsin was a better win because Wisconsin's a Big Ten team. Still not a great Big Ten team, but a Big Ten team. But the 73-0 that they shellacked on that poor school in week 2 doesn't mean it. Like, did it help the team gain confidence? Yeah, but from a standpoint of like a win, who cares? Like, if they had done that to Oklahoma, people are like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, they murder somebody. Like, they're upset. Did Nick Saban come back in the building? Didn't happen. So, that being said, get to the first game: Texas Tech, Utah. Love the matchup. You got Utah that I think both schools are underrated in terms of they're dangerous, but I like Texas Tech. I know Pops does as well. This was one of the games he phoned in for.
Yeah, and Utah's enough. See, I disagree that they're underrated. I think Utah's overrated. This is not to say that I think Utah's a bad football team. I think they got a boost from their big UCLA win because it was like, yeah, Utah's back. Look at what we just did to UCLA. And again, it turns out UCLA is absolute hot garbage because, again, Utah has played nobody, which UCLA might as well be a, FCS school at this point because then they played Cal Poly and Wyoming. Like, we have seen nothing out of Utah from like a competition standpoint. Now that can change, right? Like this is why we're saying the AP poll should be fluid. If they come out and beat Texas Tech, hey, dude, good on you. I was wrong. Utah is exactly where they needs to be because I do think Texas Tech is a decent football team, but I've got Texas Tech in the game.
I tell you what, if you want to bet the total 57.5, go ahead and give me the over on that. I mean, Texas Tech has been looks like Mike Leach offense, just slinging it. So I like the over in the game. If there's anything that I could take away from it outside of the right now, Utah's 3.5-point favorite. I like Texas Tech in the game, even though the game is in Utah.
I don't disagree with you I think Texas Tech's going to score a lot of points, or they're going to try to score a lot of points, and Utah's going to try to keep up with them. But Utah is a solid defense. So if that gets like muted at all, like I think Utah, I'm looking right now, Utah's only allowed 25 points through 3 games. Like,
but who have they played, as you just said?
Again, UCLA, Cal Poly, and Wyoming, like not high powered offenses. So a little nervous on the over there. College football tends to be high scoring, so it's absolutely a high probability. I'd pick the over versus the under, but that one might be a little. We'll see. But I do like Texas outright to upset the way the line is set.
Next big game: Auburn goes to Oklahoma. This is yet again. I keep looking at this. It's hard for me based upon how Georgia and LSU have played and looked, which I get. Florida's not a good school. Like, we keep hyping up LSU, and it's one of these ones that, are they 3-0? Are they a good football team? I think they are a good football team. Like, their defense plays well. But from the standpoint and quality of wins, I don't think that you can look now going into week 4 at their wins as these truly great statement wins. Like, they struggled against the Clemson team that then struggled against Troy and then got beat by Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech is a good football team, but we all called the Georgia Tech upset. I just look at it and I go, I don't know how you don't think Oklahoma's not playing the best football in the SEC right now. And they're only 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, this one's revenge games in the NFL always feel like there's something there. I don't know the stats, or because we've really only had so much time of transfer portal, so there hasn't been as many like revenge games as there is in the pros. But Jackson Arnold coming back, like there's a narrative there that I'm interested to see how it plays out. You're right. I like Oklahoma in this game. I think I think it's a really good game. I'm excited that there's something like this on the schedule. Like this is again, we're going to learn something from both of these teams.
If I'm an Auburn fan, it gives me hope, and if I'm an Oklahoma fan, it makes me nervous. Oklahoma gave up some big runs to Michigan. If there's one thing that Auburn is going to try to do, which should give Auburn fans hope, is run the football. The thing that we haven't seen from Arnold, and this is the only thing with Arnold that I sit back and I go, I think it's going to be difficult, is you have a head coach that just coached you. He knows your weaknesses. And I guarantee you they try to exploit them. And his weakness is I don't think he can throw the football that effectively.
And we saw Oklahoma shut down a running quarterback in Bryce Underwood. So
who's a lot bigger than Arnold.
But Arnold has a lot more experience, which if we've learned anything this college football season, it's that experience, regardless of like the talent level, is going a lot further than these freshmen that we think have, all the talent in the world, or these first time starters, regardless of how much talent we think they have, they're screwing it up when it comes down to it because they don't have the experience.
For Auburn to win this game, in my opinion, they can't have a comeback. Like, they have to keep the score low. If you let Oklahoma come out and the kid looks like he has the past few weeks just slinging it, Auburn's getting beat, 42-14. It's going to be an ugly game.
Yeah.
That's just
I think it's Oklahoma's to lose. We'll say that. Like, if Oklahoma has a bad game, or for whatever reason Mateer lets the pressure get to him, which he hasn't shown that the game's too fast for him yet. So if they just come out with a good game plan and execute the game plan, it's Oklahoma's to lose.
Agreed. Michigan, Nebraska. This one, Nebraska's 3-0, but it's one of those ones that I understand why they're not ranked, because from a standpoint of like what I've seen out of Nebraska's offense, nothing I've yet to be like, man, Nebraska's a really good football team. They're not someone that I would sit. I know that for you, they were your CFP entry early in the season.
They were my dark horse at the beginning of the season.
It would be a great way for them to sneak in by beating Michigan, because Michigan's 2-1. They're still ranked. It would add a lot to their season going forward.
So two things on that. This is kind of, I thought Michigan was the exact team that we're getting. Overranked, not as good as everybody's making them out to be. I was giving Nebraska the win, but I also thought Nebraska was better than what they've shown. So this needs to happen for Nebraska. Now, they've got a decently easy schedule still going forward, but if they can't get by this, they're more than likely not getting by USC, and then they're definitely not getting by Penn State. So, like, they need this win to have hope. I still think it's a possibility. Like, I would probably say Michigan is the better football team. My thinking on the teams has flopped throughout the season. I still think Michigan is kind of overranked, but I thought Nebraska was going to be a better football team, and they haven't quite showed me that level of play yet. I'm still putting Michigan on upset watch. Like, they need to come out and play the game, because Nebraska will upset them. They are a good enough team to upset them. But I do think Michigan is a better football team. I'll tell you what, I think Vegas nailed it. I think a 1.5 line is great in this game, because it really is just a let's see somebody show up.
For me, if I'm Michigan, I really think that how you win is by the time the fourth quarter gets there, I really think you affect Nebraska's depth on the defensive line by running the football. I think Nebraska has good players, but it's one of those ones by the time the fourth quarter gets there and you're subbing guys in, trying to keep them fresh. If Michigan can run the football in the fourth quarter, they'll pull away. The opposite end for Nebraska, it's not so much on their defense. I really put this entire game on Raiola's shoulders. If he can come out and just have a good game, it's one of these ones that I think he's got a great arm. Like, I think the Mahomes Jr. stuff sort of annoys me because it's one of those ones where it's like, I'd rather you come out and sling it and then be the Mahomes. But if you're going to act like him and dress like him and do all these things, you got to ball out. And I haven't seen Raiola like ball out to the point that I'm like, finally, that's the guy that he wants to be. I haven't seen that. He has to be that this game. Like for them to win the game, he's got to ball out. That's the ultimate answer to Nebraska. Anything else on that one?
I would say that like I don't think Raiola needs to ball out. I just think he can't make mistakes because like Oklahoma dominated Michigan and it was primarily on the defensive side. Like Mateer played great, but it wasn't like Mateer won Oklahoma the game. It was just Michigan couldn't move the ball. They just struggled the whole game. So I agree with what you said earlier. Is if Nebraska's defense can just stop Michigan, like if they've learned anything from that Oklahoma game to really just put the pressure on Underwood, Raiola just has to come out and do he just has to play an average game, can't make mistakes. Like I don't think Raiola has to put up 500 yards to win this game. He just has to not make any mistakes and let his defense stop Michigan, from keeping up.
Makes sense. Next game I'll talk about, South Carolina, Missouri. Missouri's been slinging as well. They're 3-0. They've been putting beating on teams. I had South Carolina. It seems like all the predictions I made, if you had just bet the opposite of that, you're going to do well. Me in the preseason, my dad second that Georgia Tech beat Clemson. He was like, "Didn't you have them a national champion?" I was like, "Yeah." And then you had to throw that shade at me on that chat. I saw that with that picture of the ACC rankings and Clemson down at the bottom. South Carolina looked awful. Now, yes, they lost their quarterback and that hurt them, but from a standpoint of physicality and like, I can't emphasize this enough. It's a typical Beamer letdown. Like, I get tickled that he was like a candidate to replace the guy at Virginia Tech. I'm like, in what world? Like, so you could get the exact same product you're getting right now in South Carolina? Like, a good football team that got shellacked by Vanderbilt, shellacked in their home at night. I think South Carolina gets blown out on the road, and this is sort of the downturn for South Carolina. I still think they'll have some good games, but in terms of where you lose the Vanderbilt, it's going to challenge you as a team.
Do we know if Lenore Sellers is out? I don't know
yet.
Yes, that's what it's going to come down to me. If Lenore Sellers can play, I would make an argument that Missouri's kind of the same type of team. Like they have these good seasons, just like South Carolina. They play out of their minds sometimes, but then end up losing to teams or having these super close games that they have no business losing. So I think it's going to be a great back and forth, South Carolina's trying to bounce back type of game, but it's all going to depend on if Lenore Sellers is healthy and then can finish the game. If they don't have Lenore Sellers, that's a huge blow to South Carolina, and I don't see them overcoming that obstacle. But if Lenore Sellers is healthy and he can finish the game without like getting back into concussion protocol, I think it's going to be a fantastic back and forth.
Next game up. I need you to help me understand this. Why in the world is Miami only a 7.5 point favorite over Florida?
Dude, I don't know. Billy Napier's got MGM in his pocket, maybe. I don't know, dude. I do not know. I don't think Florida is as bad as everybody's making it sound. Losing to South Florida, yes, was very detrimental to their season. But South Florida has proved they're a good football team. Like, South Florida is not a slop kick over football team. The fact that they're not ranked blows my mind. Like, blows my mind. Because if we go back to the Illinois discussion, let's say Illinois gets blown out by Indiana this weekend. Do we think Illinois drops out of the top 25? No chance. But it'll have the exact same resume as South Florida. Like, haven't played anybody, loses one, it's not even the exact resume, but their only loss will then have been to a good top 25 team, which you could make an argument that South Florida lost to Miami, and Miami could possibly be the number one team in the nation right now, right? Like, that's I don't want to say there's ever a good loss, but like we've seen in the in the CFP past that they value good losses for whatever reason. So the fact that South Florida has went back to back to back ranked opponents, which is the hardest schedule in the nation right now as far as games played, and they came out of there 2-1, they should absolutely be ranked. So that all being said, I don't think Florida is as bad as they are making them out to be. It is still Florida. I still think there's a lot of talent. The odd thing for this for me, though, is that Miami has shown that they are pretty darn good. So a touchdown favorite is kind of strange in my opinion. I mean, I guess try to make some money off of it.
The only thing I can chalk it up to is they're just assuming that this is a in-state rivalry game and that they're going to play one another different. My biggest hang-up, I think Florida has good players. My biggest hang-up is Bill Napier. Like Bama coming off of a loss, it was like they always played Mississippi State, and Mississippi State was just like, why do we have to catch this hate from this team of Saban after a loss? Florida, on the other hand, at no point do I sit back and I go, man, you know what? I wouldn't want to play Florida next. Like, showed against LSU. They put up 10 points. He threw 5 picks. Now, LSU has a way better defense, but that's not, I'm just telling you right now, Miami's offense is better than LSU's.
Oh, yeah.
As much as I dogged him at the beginning of the season, Carson Beck's played the best in the position of quarterback outside of Metier, or however you say his name, Metier, out of Oklahoma. Carson Beck, maybe right now, I think if you had to vote for a Heisman, he's probably there. I know, crazy. Prove me wrong. Who's played better at the position of quarterback this year outside of him and Metier?
I mean, you're right.
Haynes King?
Yeah. I mean, there's Pavia, Diego. I mean, like, it's all the guys that we weren't talking about. That's for sure.
Correct. I like Miami in the game. And Pops, just to throw it back, he liked Oklahoma to beat Auburn. All right. Big game. Pops isn't here, so I can just take a dump on Illinois. Not from a standpoint of, I think they're a bad football team. This has nothing to do with that. It's just, when I get down to it and I go, why is Illinois ranked the number 9 team in the nation? I pause. They play Indiana, who's ranked less than them, and Indiana is a 4.5 point favorite.
See, which the line I'm showing is 6.5. So
regardless,
if you're watching football games, and this is not hating on Illinois, but if you're watching football games, you think Indiana is a better football team. The only people that think
I have to click
Indiana
on the team name because I don't know what. I don't know what
the only people that think Illinois is a better team is the people who are not watching the football games, aka the AP voters.
Yes. Illinois played Western Illinois, then they played Duke, and then they played Western Michigan. Yes, they beat Western Michigan 38-0. They beat Duke 45-19, and they beat Western Illinois 52-3. In the standpoint of who they played, the answer to that riddle is no one.
Well, so to play the other foot of this, Indiana hasn't played anybody either. It's Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. Like you won't have both teams overrated. Yes. Now, if you've watched the games, Illinois struggled with Duke. Like initially, if you just look at the box score, it's like, all right, they ended up beating them by like 35 points. But like, if you watched the game, it took a while. It wasn't this like super dominant, man, Illinois is playing good football. Like Indiana State, I don't know if you Indiana versus Indiana State. I don't know if you watched that game, but like it was it looked like Ohio State playing Indiana last year in the CFP. Like it was absolute domination. Like they didn't belong on the same field. So like that's where, again, it's like you don't learn anything from those games by looking at the box score. So this will be the first real test and real football team either team has played, but it is telling just on the point of rankings shouldn't matter or mean anything right now is that Vegas has got Indiana as a 4 to 7 point favorite over a team ranked 10 spots higher than them.
Pops is going with his home team, Illinois.
Homer.
I think Indiana boat races Illinois. Like what you just said, it was what I was going to say. Is I think Cincinnati has this offense in tune, and I think they because Illinois has started slow. I went back, looked at the Duke game, and I agreed with you. It was like, did they pull away there in the second half? 100%. But at the beginning of the game, it was like they gave Duke plenty of opportunities to stay in the game. I think Indiana is going to come out and try to make a statement win for their school and really trying to get back into the CFP. I like Indiana as more than a touchdown favorite. I think they absolutely boat race Illinois. I know that's a big statement, but that's just my prediction going on.
I like Indiana as well, just because again they've kept the same the coach the same level of play that they had last year, kind of coming into this year. I make the argument that like the only reason Illinois is ranked as high as they are is because of the season they had last year with Kyle McCord absolutely just balling out at the beginning of the season. Oh yeah, my bad. Again, I would say, I mean, Luke Altmaier's playing fine. I don't see Illinois doing. They are riding last year's rankings and like last year's leftovers versus like Indiana. I think actually still has that same kind of football team.
Yes, I would agree. And then the final game, just because I can't ask without asking, y'all have any problems with Michigan State?
No. I'm glad we finally made it into the rankings, but I don't think we have any problem with Michigan State. I will say though, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but we beat Purdue last week, and it was an undefeated Purdue team. We're playing Michigan State this week. It's an undefeated Michigan State team. So, like, yes, these are absolutely wins we should have, and they shouldn't be a problem. But, like, I would make the argument that it's still, we're playing undefeated Big Ten schools, which is more than what a lot of these schools can say. I'm not trying to like hype it up. I think
it's more than Indiana can say.
Yeah,
or Illinois.
I mean, and I think 25 is a perfect spot for us. You know what I mean?
No,
like, I wouldn't.
No, totally disagree. There's no way you're going to sit back and tell me that. And Notre Dame is sitting above you at 0-2.
No, because I don't think Notre Dame should even be there. Like,
okay,
I'm saying from like if all the rankings were where they should, because I think South Florida should be higher. I think they should be in, and they're not even ranked anymore.
Agreed. So that's the last big game. I'll just ask you this, put you on the spot. Who's your top five? Top five teams?
Penn State, Miami, Georgia. Give me a second here. Penn State, Miami, Georgia. I would make an argument for Florida State at this point. And then it's probably a toss-up between Ohio State and Oregon, which to me they're probably similar teams right now.
I'd go Miami number 1. I'd go LSU number 2.
Okay.
Florida State number 3. Ohio State number 4. Penn State number 5. I like Georgia. Georgia's like right there for me. It's just one of those ones that this is not the same Georgia team we've seen in the past. Like
Agreed.
it's one.
Oh, they're beatable. They're 100% beatable. But so is everybody else.
We're gonna, dude. There's a reason. I got that Vic jersey. Got beat them dogs sometimes. Next week it will be huge. Like it's not. We're going into this week and there's like some vibes coming. After this week, it is one game that we're talking about. It's Georgia Bama. Because I think we're finally going to get to see like who's who. It in just those two teams. I'm not saying for everyone else, but at least we'll get to see Bama going on road at night in Georgia. The student section at Georgia has already said it's going to be a blackout game Last time that happened in Georgia did not work out well for them. Julio Jones and them just absolutely beat the snot out of Georgia in Georgia. We'll see. Shades of last year's game, getting up, coming back, losing to Ryan Williams on a catch that almost threw another remote out the window in a hotel room. We'll see. So big game next week. I'm looking forward to it. But then I'm also nervous because after that week, we got to play Vandy. It's not a game that it's just a trap game.
Like I said it last week before any of the games. I said Vandy is not the team that I want to play if I'm anybody right now, because of the stigma that comes with Vandy of like them being this bad team, and if you lose to Vandy, your season is over. That's not the case anymore. Like Vandy's got this swag going about him that's very dangerous. It's a momentum that's hard to stop in college football. And like I just said, everybody is beatable. Nobody is shown at any point throughout this season so far that they are impervious to getting, exposed.
100%. 100%. Well, that wraps up college football for week 3 going into week 4. Anything else before wrap it up?
That's it.
All right, time to pull chalks. We'll see you guys after this game's weeks.
Peace.